Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into smart contracts.
Yeah, these digital agreements, right? They kind of enforce themselves.
Exactly. Running on blockchain, automatically executing when, the conditions are met.
It's fascinating stuff. The
Yeah.
core idea isn't brand new, though. Mick Sowa was talking about this back in the 90s.
Right. I remember that quote. Something about a set of promises.
Specified in digital form,
Mm.
including protocols within which the parties perform on these promises.
Yeah.
That's the one. But it was really Ethereum that gave it the platform it needed.
Made it practical.
Yeah, brought it to life for secure, transparent interactions online.
Okay, so in this deep dive, we really want to unpack that. Go beyond the buzzwords. What are they, really? How do they work?
And where are they useful? The potential applications, but
Like
also
the catches, the risks, the challenges. We need to cover those too.
definitely. And, the basic idea isn't that complicated. Think about a vending machine.
Okay.
You put your money in, you pick your soda.
And hopefully it comes out.
Right. The machine follows a simple if-then rule. If money received and button pressed, then dispense soda.
So the smart contract is like the machine's internal logic.
Exactly. When predefined conditions are met, maybe payment is confirmed on the blockchain, the contract automatically does its thing. No need for a cashier or supervisor. It automates and cuts out the middleman.
Okay, so it's more than just a digital document. It acts. That feels like a big step up from just, PDFs of contracts.
Oh, absolutely. It's an evolution. From paper to digital files, now to these self-executing agreements. The terms are literally baked into the code on a blockchain.
Now, the blockchain part. For listeners who might be less familiar, maybe a quick refresher on how that fits in.
Sure. So imagine a shared digital ledger, like a giant public spreadsheet that everyone on the network can see, and that's constantly updated.
Okay.
Every agreement, every transaction gets recorded. These records are bundled into blocks,
Right.
and these blocks are chained together in order, creating a history that's, well, incredibly hard to change later, tamper-proof, essentially.
And Ethereum, the platform you mentioned.
Yeah, a major player for smart contracts. They had that big update, the merge, switching to proof of stake.
Yeah.
Much more energy efficient now.
So how does a contract actually live on Ethereum?
It exists as compiled code, bytecode, linked to a specific account on the blockchain
And it just sits there until...
until a transaction is sent to its address. That triggers the code to run. And importantly, these contract accounts have their own storage space.
to remember things,
Yep.
like who paid what or the status of the deal.
Exactly, to keep track of its state. And this automatic enforcement, without needing a third party, that's the real difference from traditional contracts, isn't it?
It really is. Normally, if something goes wrong, you're looking at lawyers, maybe court.
But here, if the conditions in the code are met, the contract just does what it was programmed to do. Payment gets released, ownership gets transferred, whatever it is. Automated. No arguments, ideally.
Okay, that lays a good foundation. Let's talk applications. Where is this actually making a difference? Security seems like a big one.
It is. And it stems from the blockchain itself. Think about your digital identity.
Okay.
Instead of storing it in one company's database, potentially vulnerable to hacks, it can be secured on a blockchain. Much harder to tamper with.
And you control it more.
Exactly. You decide what data to share, when, and with whom. This enhanced security and privacy aspect is why the blockchain identity market is expected to grow so much.
Interesting. And this security focus must be helpful in areas like healthcare, right? Which is obviously very sensitive.
Hugely helpful.
Mhm.
Take clinical trials. Very complex, lots of moving parts.
Right. Data, consent, payments.
Smart contracts can automate a lot of that,
Mm.
making sure the trial follows the rules, keeping the data secure and trustworthy, handling patient consent digitally, even automating payments to participants when milestones are hit.
So more efficient and more reliable.
That's the goal. Streamlined, efficient, and building more trust to the results.
What about the less glamorous side, like hospital billing and insurance claims? That's always a headache.
Oh, absolutely ripe for disruption. Smart contracts could automate submitting and processing claims. Think about the administrative waste.
It's massive, isn't it? Especially in the US.
Yeah, estimates are like 15–20% of healthcare costs. Automating this could slash errors, speed up payments to doctors and hospitals, and just make the whole system work better. Less paperwork, faster reimbursements.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. Elections. There's always talk about improving voting. Could smart contracts play a role there?
It's a really interesting, though maybe controversial area.
Mhm.
The idea is using blockchain, powered by smart contracts, for more secure and maybe accessible voting.
How so?
Well, smart contracts could verify voter IDs automatically, maybe prevent double voting, streamline registration, and imagine real-time transparent vote counting,
That would be something. Faster results, maybe more trust.
potentially.
Mm.
And some studies even suggest it could cut election costs dramatically, like up to 90% in some scenarios, making democracy cheaper and maybe more accessible.
Wow, 90%. That's huge.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to something completely different. The creator economy. Music, art. How do smart contracts fit in?
This is where it gets really interesting for individual creators. It's about rights and royalties.
Which are notoriously complex.
Exactly. Imagine a smart contract programmed so that every time a song is streamed, or maybe an artwork is resold online,
The money automatically goes to the right people.
instantly and transparently, based on percentages agreed upon beforehand.
Uh-huh.
Platforms like Tune.fm are already playing with this idea, using tokens.
And NFTs fit in here too, right? Non-fungible token.
Yes. An NFT is basically a unique digital certificate of ownership managed by a smart contract, so artists can sell digital art directly.
Okay.
And even better, they can program the smart contract so they automatically get a percentage every time that NFT is sold again on the secondary market.
So they benefit if their work becomes more valuable over time.
Precisely. It gives them an ongoing stake.
Yeah.
It's a real potential game changer for artists.
Definitely. What about more traditional businesses, retailers, small businesses? Is there anything for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Think about back office efficiency. Automating payments to contractors or suppliers.
Okay.
Digitizing payroll, maybe. Getting real-time tracking on things. Even simple stuff like putting blockchain identifiers on inventory for better supply chain visibility.
Ah, so that links nicely into supply chain management itself, which is incredibly complex.
And a perfect use case, really. The potential benefits are huge.
Yeah.
Automating tracking, orders, inventory.
Real-time visibility.
Exactly, end-to-end. And condition-based actions, like payment automatically released when a shipment sensor confirms delivery and maybe checks the temperature was okay.
That saves time in disputes, I imagine.
Big time. Reduces costs, creates tamper-proof records. You combine blockchain with things like IoT sensors, GPS. You get really powerful tracking.
Is anyone doing this at scale? Can you give us an example?
Sure, IBM Food Trust is a well-known one.
For food safety.
Exactly. It connects farmers, processors, distributors, retailers on a shared blockchain ledger. Creates a transparent record of where food came from and how it got there.
So if there's a recall needed?
They can trace the source much faster, pinpoint the problem, get contaminated products off shelves quicker. It's about efficiency and ultimately consumer safety based on accurate, immutable data.
Okay, that makes sense. Beyond tracking food, what other supply chain applications are emerging? It seems like the possibilities are broad.
Oh, they really are. What's fascinating is the range. You've got verifying fair trade standards, proving things were ethically sourced,
Okay.
monitoring carbon footprints along the supply chain, automating procurement purchase orders, invoicing, all triggered by smart contracts.
The less manual processing.
Way less. Better inventory management using real-time data. Smarter demand forecasting. Then there's logistics and shipping, real-time tracking, sure, but also smart freight agreements, payment on delivery, automated dispute clauses,
Wow.
automated payments generally, saving time, reducing errors, handling complex international transactions, dealing with currency conversion rates and fees automatically.
It keeps going.
It does. Supply chain financing, helping smaller suppliers get paid faster, streamlining insurance claims if goods are damaged in transit, verifying quality assurance certifications, automating regulatory compliance checks.
It sounds like it touches almost every part of the supply chain.
Pretty much. And we're even seeing cross-industry learning techniques used in one sector being adapted for another. It really has the potential to add trust and efficiency everywhere.
Incredible breadth. Let's switch to another big area, real estate. Traditionally quite slow, lots of paperwork, lots of intermediaries.
Yeah, and smart contracts offer some really compelling efficiencies there. Automating verification steps, cutting down reliance on so many different parties.
So faster closings?
Potentially, yes.
Well-
Imagine reducing closing times from weeks down to days, maybe even hours in some scenarios. Automating things like title transfer once payment is confirmed on the blockchain.
And communication. Deals often fall apart because people aren't on the same page.
Smart contracts can help there too, by creating that single, transparent, unchangeable record that everyone involved can see. Less he said, she said.
Makes sense. What about after the sale? Managing properties.
Lots of potential there too. Automating rent collection and distributing it to owners. Handling maintenance requests based on pre-agreed rules. managing things like common area maintenance CAM charges and commercial leases,
Okay.
even streamlining how REITs real estate investment trusts operate, automating dividend payments, compliance checks, investor reporting.
And that tokenization idea you mentioned earlier.
Right, representing fractional ownership of a property as digital tokens on a blockchain. Smart contracts manage those tokens.
What about the complexities in deals, like needing financing approval or passing inspections?
Smart contracts can manage those contingencies automatically. The deal only proceeds if the contract confirms financing is approved or the inspection passed.
Could it link up with existing systems, like the MLS?
Potentially, yes. You could imagine NFTs representing properties that link to MLS data, creating a richer digital record. Even mortgages automating payoff and ownership transfer. And property insurance, moving towards self-executing policies based on verified events.
It's really remarkable how far-reaching this could be. But, okay, let's pump the brakes a little. We know it's not all smooth sailing. What are the big hurdles, the risks organizations need to watch out for?
Yeah, this is super important. It's definitely not magic. A major challenge upfront is the lack of standardization.
Meaning different blockchains don't talk to each other easily.
Exactly. Different protocols, different programming languages. It makes interoperability tricky. Then there's the sheer technical complexity.
It's need specialists.
You really do. Blockchain, cryptography, languages like Solidity. It's not trivial. Implementation can be expensive and time-consuming if you don't have the right skills in-house.
And you mentioned earlier, once a contract is out there on the blockchain, it's kind of stuck, right?
That's the immutability point. It's great for security. No one can tamper with the agreement. But if there's a bug,
You can't just patch it like normal software.
precisely. A mistake in the code, once deployed, is incredibly hard to fix. That could mean major financial losses or just broken processes. We also have to mention energy consumption.
Though some platforms are improving.
Yes, like Ethereum's merge to proof of stake, that was a huge step. But some other blockchains still use proof of work, which can be very energy intensive and costly.
What about the law? Does it keep up?
Often not. Compliance is a big headache. The regulations around smart contracts and crypto are still patchy and evolving globally.
So companies are operating in a bit of a gray area.
In some ways, yes.
Yeah.
It puts the onus on them to have really strong internal policies to manage that risk. And related to that is data integrity,
Garbage in, garbage out.
essentially. If the data fed into the smart contract is wrong, the automated outcome will be wrong. Ensuring data accuracy is crucial. And then there are logic hacks.
Exploiting flaws in the code itself.
Exactly. Poorly written logic can create loopholes that attackers exploit. This requires rigorous coding standards and critically independent security audits.
It sounds like security is just paramount. Are there specific types of attacks people should know about?
Definitely. The security community tracks these things. There's a list, like the OS smart contract top 10. Things like access control vulnerabilities are a big one. Attackers gaining permissions they shouldn't have. That caused huge losses in 2024, apparently.
Okay. What else?
Price oracle manipulation, tricking the contract about the real-world price of something. Logic errors, just plain mistakes in the code's intended function.
Simple mistakes can be costly.
Very. Also, lack of input validation, not checking data coming in. Reentrancy attacks, those are tricky.
We touched on that, where one contract calls back into another unexpectedly.
Yeah, allowing repeated actions like withdrawing funds multiple times before the balance updates. Then there's unchecked external calls, interacting with risky outside contracts, flash loan attacks, using massive instant loans to manipulate markets, integer overflow and underflow. Those are math bugs.
Can you explain those briefly, the overflow-underflow ones?
Sure, think of a car's odometer. If it only goes up to 999,999 miles, and you drive one more mile, it might wrap around to 30,000. That's like an overflow.
Okay.
Underflow is the opposite. If you're at 0 and subtract 1, maybe it wraps around to the highest possible number. In code, these math errors can let attackers manipulate balances or other critical numbers in weird ways.
Got it. That sounds dangerous.
It can be. Other things on the list include insecure randomness, if the random numbers used by a contract are predictable, and denial of service, OSS, attacks, basically overwhelming the contract so nobody can use it.
So many ways things can go wrong. Are there other common coding mistakes?
Yeah, researchers point out things like approval exploits with tokens users accidentally giving too much permission, incorrect data storage using temporary memory for important stuff, not managing admin roles properly. Even things like how cryptographic proofs are handled, or just falsely implying security through misleading code structure.
It really is a minefield. What's the root cause of all these bugs? Is it just bad coding?
It's varied. Research points to price oracle issues being exploited frequently in real attacks, but also basic accounting errors in the code, problems ensuring ID uniqueness, state update inconsistencies, privilege escalation bugs, issues with atomicity, making sure related actions all happen or none happen. And sometimes it's just bugs specific to that contract's unique logic. Plus, the languages themselves, like Solidity, are complex.
Making it harder to get right.
Exactly. It raises the barrier.
We focused a lot on the technical side. Are there broader, maybe ethical or legal things to consider?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
The transparency of blockchain, for instance. Great for audits, but what about client confidentiality in some legal or business context?
Good point.
Then there's competence. If you're a lawyer or consultant advising on smart contracts, you really need to understand the tech. The duty of diligence is arguably higher too because these things are automated, often with no easy undo button.
And the legal system itself.
That's the legal framework uncertainty. How are these things treated in court? It varies hugely by jurisdiction. Some places are creating specific laws like Illinois did, but it's patchy. And then you have clashes with existing laws like data privacy, GDPR's right to be forgotten versus blockchain's never forget immutability. That's a tough one.
Definitely a lot to navigate. So, given all this complexity and risk, how can an organization actually implement smart contracts successfully? What's the recipe?
Well, there's no magic bullet, but a careful, layered approach is key. First, you absolutely need the right people.
The specialists you mentioned.
Yes, skilled smart contract developers who know the languages like Solidity inside out. Legal consultants who understand both the tech and the shifting regulations. Security specialists crucial for auditing code and hardening systems. And business analysts to make sure the contract actually meets the business need effectively.
So it's a team effort.
Absolutely. Second, rigorous testing is non-negotiable, not just basic checks. You need things like fuzzing, property-based testing, maybe even formal verification for critical contracts, plus solid regression testing.
You also need to pick the right underlying technology, right?
Crucial. Evaluate the blockchain platform carefully. Does it scale? Is it secure? How fast are transactions? Does it connect with other systems you need? Interoperability. Is a public blockchain okay, or do you need a private one? Lots to consider there.
And making it work with existing systems, like the company's main software.
Right. Strategic integration with existing ERP or supply chain systems. That needs careful planning. Compatibility, how data syncs up, training for staff, thorough testing again, making sure you have vendor support, and planning for ongoing updates.
And underlying all of that must be privacy and security.
Always. Prioritize data privacy and security from day one. Use encryption, strict access controls, conduct regular security audits, and train employees on best practices. You can't bolt security on at the end.
It sounds like it demands a very deliberate, cautious, and expert-driven approach.
That sums it up well. Thoughtful, cautious, combining technical skill with legal and business awareness.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the bottom line on smart contracts?
I think the potential is genuinely transformative for so many industries. The automation, the transparency, the efficiency, they offer a fundamentally different way to handle agreements and transactions.
But it's clearly not simple, not just flip a switch.
Not at all. The benefits are huge, potentially.
Yeah.
You have to understand the technical hurdles, the very real security risks, and the fact that the legal ground is still shifting. Success requires navigating all of that carefully.
A powerful tool, but one that needs respect and expertise. And maybe here's a final thought for you, our listeners, to chew on. As these smart contracts get woven deeper into our systems, how might they change our basic ideas about trust? And about what a legal agreement even is in this increasingly digital world? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.